Buenos días y bienvenidos a todos. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to a community dedicated to providing spiritual tools for living a happy and full life. My name is Karina Shearer, and I am the spiritual director and founding minister here at the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta. If you would like to join us for the live Zoom meeting, please contact me for the link and the password, or check on our website, www.cslpv.org, for the week under the weekly talk section. So today is April 2nd, 2023, and we are continuing with our annual theme, which is Living Out Loud. The topic for this month of April is the power of vulnerability. And this week, our topic is vulnerability, defining and aligning. A book that you might be interested in reading this month is The Power of Vulnerability by Brené Brown. So once again, I'd like to truly welcome everyone, including those that are new to our teaching and to our center here in Puerto Vallarta, whether you're here on the live Zoom call or watching the replay at a later time. We teach a philosophy called the Science of Mind, and we honor all faith traditions. So whatever path you are on, know that it is the right one for you. No matter what your background is, please know that everyone is welcome here, and we value each and every one of you. So as I mentioned, we teach a philosophy called the Science of Mind. And this is a teaching based on new thought and ancient wisdom. We offer spiritual tools and principles to promote personal growth, and we honor diversity in all aspects so that we can see and appreciate the great oneness that already exists everywhere and within everyone. When Dr. Ernest Holmes founded this teaching in the 1920s, he had studied both Eastern and Western spiritual texts in order to create the Science of Mind, which focuses on the individual use of thoughts and this powerful thing called the mind. When he was asked to provide a concise definition of the Science of Mind teaching, he had replied that it is a correlation of laws of science, opinions of philosophy, and revelations of religion applied to human needs and aspirations. So each week we offer service with an inspirational message. So if you would like to join us in person, we are now offering it on Sundays at noon on Calle Venezuela, number 232 on the rooftop. And hang out with us after the service for some great conversation with like-minded people. And if you would like a one-on-one connection for a spiritual mind treatment to assist you with whatever is going on in your life or whatever you would like to experience, then please connect with me. And if you would like to commit to being a member of the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta for this year, or if you would like to be on our board of trustees, please contact me so that you can be sent the current form. And please note that membership is renewed every year. So it's important that you sign one of these membership forms. I'd also like to remind you to like and to subscribe to our YouTube page and our Facebook page. And if you're interested in learning more about the Science of Mind teaching, we are going to be offering the course Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, again online later this month. We're also teaching the course Roots, in English via Zoom and in person in Spanish, starting next week. All of this information can be found on our website under the heading Events. And we also have a few other interesting workshops that will be offered later this year. And that will be offered by a special guest. So connect with me or check out our website for further details. And if there's any other course or workshop or even a book study that you would be interested in taking, please let me know and we can plan dates for these as well. So now let's review our purpose, vision, and mission statements together. We have a grand purpose here each week, and that is to awaken and celebrate diversity and love and serve our community. This is supported by our vision, which is creating the life you desire. And this is supported by our mission, which is to provide spiritual tools for personal growth and transformation. And more on our purpose, vision, and mission can also be found on our webpage. So hearing the word vulnerability often makes us cringe, but do we really know what it means? Let's begin our journey into vulnerability by defining and aligning. So this month is an exploration of the power of vulnerability. And we'll embark on this journey with the key steps of defining and gaining clarity around just what vulnerability is and why it is important. We'll explore what often gets in the way of being vulnerable and what steps that we can take to navigate through this path. Vulnerability is a key ingredient in our own personal transformation, as it creates an expanded awareness of what lies just below the surface. And as we look at vulnerability through this lens, we'll begin to see how vulnerability is a building block for a thriving and healthy community. And we'll end the month with the focus on how we can harness the power of vulnerability in living a life that is full of possibility, a life that is lived out loud. So whenever we embark on a new adventure, it's important to know where we are and where we're going. Today, we begin the journey towards a greater understanding of the power of vulnerability by exploring what it is, what it isn't, and why it's important. Vulnerability becomes the crucial starting point for authenticity and connection. To the extent that we begin to foster this in ourselves, we can begin to invite others to do the same. So Ernest Holmes wrote this in The Creative Living. He said, "There is an irresistible potential pressing against everyone for self-expression. If we listen, we shall hear it, not as a voice, but as a feeling, as a divine urge to express." So this points to the understanding that the reality of our essence is the ability to express fully within this life. Just as we observe the moment or the movement of growth and vitality in the natural world, such is the blueprint of our lives. When we are limited or unable to express ourselves fully, the effects are far-reaching. In a world that often seeks to contain or suppress our true expression, vulnerability becomes an integral piece in actualizing the spirit within. The willingness to take the risk of authentic living although doing so may open us up to challenges along the way. And it leads us to the very outpicturing of the irresistible potential within all of us. So let's take a deeper dive into what vulnerability is not, and why it's important. So first, what it is. And it's important to start with the definition. This provides not only a point of reference, but a sense of clarity. And Brene Brown, the researcher and professor of social work at the University of Houston, defines vulnerability as this. It is a state of emotional exposure that comes with a certain degree of uncertainty. It involves a person's willingness to accept the emotional risk that comes from being open and willing to love and be loved. To be vulnerable is to explore the depths of ourselves and others, even when we are unsure of what we may uncover. It's stepping out, whether literally or metaphorically, and often in the face of uncertainty and fear, for the purpose of fostering a fuller expression of ourselves and others. So what does vulnerability look like? Taking chances that might lead to rejection, talking about mistakes you've made, feeling different emotions, or being honest about boundaries and expectations. And these are just a few examples. So I'll be vulnerable here and say that after falling down the stairs and breaking my leg and ankle, I'm a bit afraid to go downstairs again. But in order to leave my apartment, I need to walk down 3 flights. However, I'd rather face this fear than entertain the option that was suggested by someone else. So here's a funny story I'd like to share that relates to this idea. There's a monastery in Tibet, perched high up in the mountains, and you have to hike for most of the day to get to the base of a cliff, rising into the mist-shrouded peaks. From here, the way to the entrance was being suspended in a basket and pulled to the top by several monks. Obviously, the ride up the steep cliff in that basket was terrifying. One traveler got exceedingly nervous about halfway up as he noticed that the rope suspending the basket was old and frayed. He felt completely vulnerable, and with a trembling voice, he asked the monk who was riding with him how often they changed the rope. The monk looked at the rope, thought for a moment, and then answered, "Whenever it breaks." So, needless to say, there will not be a basket and pulley system to get me out of my house. I will overcome my fear of walking down the stairs. And here's another quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes. He said, "We resist being what we really are. We need to accept the fuller expression of the mind that is within us. For in its creative flow through us rests our entire future, the greater person that we are, and the richer life we desire to enjoy." So, what vulnerability is not? It's not oversharing or dumping inappropriate amounts of emotions or personal history with wild abandonment. And it's not being vulnerable for the sake of saying, "Look at me, I'm being vulnerable and sharing all my stuff." The tone and motive of vulnerability is one that is born from a desire to fully express oneself for the purposes of authenticity and connection. To be vulnerable is not to be without boundaries, nor is it to be a doormat. It's not a weakness, but instead, it is a conscious choice to express thoughts, feelings, and desires in a way that serves to nurture an authentic life. In Observations, Ernest Holmes wrote this: "We should come then to this great reservoir of nature, to this infinite side of ourselves, in full and simple trust, in confidence and faith." So why is being vulnerable important? Vulnerability becomes the necessary action of both self-expression and connection. However, one should not be tricked into thinking that vulnerability is an easy task, nor should we discount the fact that individual and societal influences often create barriers to its actualization. The adventure is to begin the conversation, understanding that the willingness to engage in the exploration of our own authenticity invites others to do the same. It calls us to create safe spaces, safe communities, and safe relationships in which vulnerability can thrive and grow. In this offering, we create the container for the transformative effects of vulnerability. Vulnerability becomes the starting point of authenticity and connection, not only to ourselves, but to spirit and the world around us. It calls us to bring our own unique expression to life while extending the same invitation to others. Brene Brown said this: "Vulnerability is a state of emotional exposure that comes with a certain degree of uncertainty. It involves a person's willingness to accept the emotional risk that comes from being open and willing to love and be loved." So, in conclusion, authenticity and meaningful connection are born out of vulnerability. And vulnerability allows us to build trust and intimacy in relationships, foster empathy and understanding, increase our sense of self-worth, build relationships with those who serve to support and love us, work together in a partnership and community, work through and process emotions, increase our self-awareness and accountability, and opens us up to the possibility of growth and transformation. So vulnerability is not weakness. It is about showing up and being seen, even in the face of fear and shame. The call is to begin to examine areas in our lives where we have been resistant to vulnerability. Areas where hustling for our own worthiness has created a chasm between who we are on the inside and who we project ourselves to be on the outside. The adventure is gaining clarity and awareness of our connection with spirit and how this connection fuels our connection and authenticity with ourselves and others. And so I'll leave you with this last quote from Adrienne Fossey. She says, "Vulnerability lets in light. So let's all shine. And that leads us to our affirmation for the week. I bring my own unique expression to life and create a safe space for others to do the same. And so now it's our time for mindful giving and financial support of our spiritual home, your spiritual home. We rely on your support to continue our center here in Puerto Vallarta so that we can continue offering this powerful teaching for the science of mind. We bless the financial gifts that you give today, whether it's $5 or $50, or even just the cost of a cup of coffee. And your contributions are circulated with our tithing to our greater organization, which reaches out globally as well as locally. We also tithe to a local women's shelter to assist women and children that have left an abusive home and allows them an opportunity to become grateful for the assistance to become productive and successful members of our community. And I'd also like to request that as a special event is occurring tomorrow, being my birthday, I respectfully request that in honor of my birthday, that you consider donating generously to the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta, or to my personal GoFundMe to assist me with the expenses or the out-of-pocket expenses that I incurred from my recent incident requiring emergency surgery. So donations can be used or can be made either by using PayPal or Tithely through our website, which is www.cslpv.org. And I'll just put that up on the web page or on the screen for you to see the web page again. So the donate buttons are indicated both on the landing page and on the page where you'll see the replays for each of these talks. And there's also on the landing page a donate or a link to the GoFundMe page. Alternatively, if you would like to send a paper check, you can do so by addressing it to CSLPV number 403, 2125 Birch Road, Kelowna, BC, V1Y8N1. And now, if you'd like to join me for our offertory affirmations. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I do give eternal thanks for the abundance that is mine to share. So thank you for coming and sharing this time together. And let's continue with practicing peace. We can each be a force for peace and nonviolence. Our words and our actions can create ripples of peace all around us and beyond. Peaceful living includes acting with compassion, kindness, and consideration. And it also includes standing up against injustice. So may peace and love be with you. Blessings and namaste to all.